YouTube's petey twofinger talking about zoroastrianism. So this is a very old religion, debatable 1200 BC to 1800 BC, all the way back to 600 BC. It's the first monotheistic religion, which means one God. Yeah, there was religion before this, so they worshipped all kinds of whatever, make a statue of a scorpion and worship that. Oh, there's a flower. Let's have a flower god too. And that was in the traditional biblical scriptures. You see the God of Israel often opening up his wrath and destroying these other nations for their idolatry or worship of all these multiple other gods. Now, the God of Zoroastrianism, there is a counterpart, evil part to it, but it's hard to explain. Their God is a prophet who I believe he created the universe, and this other evil spirit was kind of just there. He didn't create him, and when the judgment day goes down, the sinners are brought up to a judgment, and they have their sins washed away, and they're able to join upstairs in the great celestial party. So he's not a god that you fear. They have a three-tiered thing of earth, wind, and fire, not the band, the elements. So they do these kooky fire rituals where they've got an eternal flame. You go in there and fire it up, and that represents God. A three-tiered thing in their basic philosophy being good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, which I thought that was just awesome. That's what I'm taking away from my limited knowledge of Zoroastrianism. Again, this was a big thing. There wasn't Christianity. The Catholics hadn't done their crusades yet. Islam, wherever you see that Islam nations and Muslim nations, there was Zoroastrianism. It's hard to say this word. Now, they were top of the charts. They were religion numero uno through 3 Persian dynasties, and if you look into it, you'll start to recognize the imagery from their stone carvings and stuff. It almost looks Egyptian or Sumerian. There's widespread bird wings with feathers, and then there's like a wreath in the middle of that, and then there's a dude sticking out with a turban and a big beard. And supposedly, I'm not sure if that represents their god. The god's like Zoroastrianism, or it's very similar to the name Zoroastrianism, and they don't gender that. That's it's a dude, it's a chick, it's God. It's neither. It's got a big ZZ Top beard, which is weird to me because that nothing says dude like a big old honkin'. But hey, Ringling and Barnum and Brothers and Bailey Circus could also have a bearded lady and prove me wrong. Now, I had heard about Zoroastrianism. All that stuff like esoteric stuff and psychedelics is all kind of tied together. This like quest for truth, and the internet is really wonderful because you don't have to do research. You can just click a mouse and type a couple words in, and then call it research. But I was aware of it. I'm not an expert on religions or anything. I do come from a religious upbringing where I was going to church every Sunday. But as far as your normal person who wasn't growing up in a church, or a lot of people that in a church would be growing up in a church, I do know a little bit more about this stuff, but I'm certainly not scholared or learned in it. Okay, I know little bits and pieces from here and there. So I'm not bragging or trying to put myself out there as some intellectual who knows everything about religion. Okay? I've got to specify these things because there's evil forces that are around this channel that are looking to do whatever they can to twist the truth and make me appear like I am something that I am not. That being said, my sister-in-law is a person who grew up in a upper, kind of wealthy, not rich, but white middle-class Christian home. And she went on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and that really left her with a bad taste in her mouth. Whether it was too commercial or she just didn't find anything there, she's been on this search for her own truth that's taken her quite far, quite much effort and work she's put forth is staggering, her quest for knowledge. And she was the one that was telling me it all goes back to the Zoroastrianism. And they were boycotting. My sister-in-law she wasn't doing. No, I'm not going to do Christmas. I'm not going to do Easter, because she knows these are all pagan holidays. That when the Catholics kind of took over and did their crusades, which was basically really bloody wars, where they came in and anybody who was anything different or didn't follow along and join their church, they were off with the head. Any of the existing religious people off with the head. And what they did was they were like, you know what, you've got these festivals like Easter and Christmas that are based around this pagan religion, which is much more like worshiping the earth and working with the elements, and the harvest and stuff like that. And they knew that the Catholics would be pushing it too much if they took away all of their holidays. So they kind of just refocused them, renamed them, and there's a combination now where you see we have a Christmas tree, but it's Jesus' birthday at the same time. So it's real convenient. And like when you run into that information, if you knew it, like I was kind of aware of this stuff because my mom is a brilliant person. My mom she was in the Phi Beta Kappa Society, and she taught multiple languages, and she was a teacher. She was just a brilliant person. Okay, I wish I would have inherited some of that, but alas, I didn't. I'm not a very smart guy. But learning from her, I was always aware of a lot of that stuff. That's where I got filled in, was her kind of giving me the skinny. And if you aren't aware of that and you're a believer your whole life and then you find that out, it's kind of a little bit more difficult for you to swallow. That all of this stuff that we're celebrating is a lie. So, like I said, she kind of cued me in on the Zoroastrian thing. She taught herself Greek and went back to the original Greek version of the Bible and started retranslating the Bible, trying to figure out the authentic meaning for these Greek words rather than what people have twisted them to change the scripture. That's what she feels has happened. So when I say, oh, she's done all this work, it is. It's really mind-blowingly impressive what she's done. And I know she was involved in another church that some people would even go as far to say kind of culty or a little bit. I mean, it's not beaten path type stuff. But she was like the scribe for that church for years. So she's a brilliant person. Kind of been going through a tough time recently. I haven't seen her for a while, but I always really love getting together with her and just chewing the fat about stuff that's on a slightly higher intellectual level, than the normal kind of gutter punk stuff that I'm wallowing my brain around with. But I had watched a documentary on psychedelics today, and they were talking about Zoroastrianism, and I paused it, and I had to look it up, so I was looking up the basic videos that explain Zoroastrianism, because I knew it was the super old mother of all religions. It was the first monotheistic religion, It all goes back to that. It's their fault, organized religion. And like I said, religion is a tough subject. It's one of these things that is even more unpopular nowadays. You're supposed to be all with your spirituality, but you can never say anything about church because the Christians are so evil. and, and mankind, organized religion is such a horribly evil thing. And, who am I to judge is my point. So I try to tread lightly on that. But I will say it's very difficult for me to see past humanity's flaws. Is the tough thing for me. But certainly, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, that can go a long way. And that's what I'm taking away from Zoroastrianism. What a concept. The Albert Hoffman is the guy who they consider him the father of LSD, this very powerful hallucinogenic drug that drove the psychedelic revolution of the 60s. Hoffman continued to take smaller doses of this powerful psychedelic mind-enhancing drug and up until his death. And he lived to be, I think he was 93. Don't quote me, but he wasn't in his 60s. He was an old guy when he passed. And he said he used to take this LSD in his garden. And he said that he could see the hand of God in creation. And he said, because he was tripping, he could see what you see. And if you do take LSD or mushrooms or do some sort of psychedelic experience, when you, if you know anything about that, what they will always tell you is, don't want to do it indoors. That's where the bad trips happen. You got to go out in nature. And so that's set and setting, along with intention. You have to meditate and intent that this is a sacrament, that this is going to heal you, that you're going to receive a positive message of love from the universe, and you're going to transcend your ego, and you're going to become one with all of the molecules of the universe. And you meditate on that, and then you get yourself in that area outdoors and have a plan, have a sitter, and go through your psychedelic experience. And the chances of you having a bummer are generally gonna go down pretty quickly. So it isn't so much you need to go to church, I'm a Christian, you're evil, Twofinger's a Christian. I just wanted to discuss Zoroastrianism because it's a word that you hear. It's one of those things I kind of knew about it, but I wanted to know a little more. And I thought me talking about it might inspire a few of my viewers here to want to learn a little more for themselves about it. And certainly, we could all use a little more good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Peace.